All right, Zero. So we are at the end of this podcast, but as always, I have a question for you.
All right.
Zero, we talked a little bit about 343 and their mismanagement of the Halo franchise, and I said some strong words as to maybe they need to be taking it off of the property itself. I stick by that. I'm a man of my convictions, and I stand by what I say, goddammit. Anyway. Zero, my question for you is this. What other properties need to be divorced from their current studio?
One that I can think of pretty easily that many people will likely agree with me on is the Pokemon franchise. It really needs to be moved away from Game Freak because not to mince words, but Game Freak has been completely antiquated on their just development principles. It seemed like when things were still on just Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and the DS, that they sort of coasted along and, just were like, pixels work, not a big deal to us. We'll just keep doing the pixel thing and keep things fairly basic, not a problem with us. And then once it got to the 3DS era, they were just like, oh shit, Nintendo wants us to do 3D. Okay, well, yeah, I guess we can kind of slop something together in 3D, I guess.
Yeah, X and Y was not good.
Yeah, so there was that, and then of course, then you had Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which again just didn't really do much improvement on the 3D visuals from X and Y. And then we get into Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu. Still not too great on the 3D model quality. And then you have Sword and Shield, and once again, just 3D model quality just wasn't all that great.
Mm-hmm.
And it just got a lot of people angry because of the fact that they have partnered with some companies before who have made some very high quality 3D models, and some of those high quality 3D models were used in Pokemon partner games. A great example of a more recent partner game that used some very high quality Pokemon models was New Pokemon Snap.
Mm-hmm.
Just the models on that game are just absolutely fantastic. So it's gotten a lot of people who are longtime Pokemon fans asking, why, if you've got a Bandai Namco joint project that has these splendid and well-crafted 3D models of Pokemon, why are we not seeing these high-quality models being used in mainline games?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say that the Pokemon games in general also have some very antiquated game system design decisions too. So I think that's one that could definitely be moved away from Game Freak, mostly because they just seem like that they've been sort of coasting on things instead of just really putting themselves to the grindstone and going, okay, let's really book up, learn what makes Pokemon charming, but also let's kind of modernize our development tool sets and everything like that. I think the only game of recent that has really sort of shaken up the Pokemon formula, in my opinion, has been Legends Arceus.
I was going to add
that one.
Yeah,
that one really just shook up the formula, made it just feel just so different compared to just a mainline Pokemon game. And yeah, it's not completely open world. It's kind of hub based, kind of like Monster Hunter, but still, it's a change in a great direction. I know with Scarlet and Violet, they've said that the game will be completely open world. You will be able to tackle any gym in any order that you wish. So that's kind of an interesting concept. But as I've repeatedly said, just we'll have to see when the rubber hits the road if their grandiose claims are true. Because if it's just marketing fluff, then it's just going to disappoint people again, unfortunately. But again, who knows? We might be pleasantly surprised and maybe they get it right this time, and things end up better as a result. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
I'm conflicted by your answer. I understand what you're saying. They need to really make big changes to their franchise. I've been playing, and you guys are going to see it on the videos this week. I've been playing Monster Sanctuary, which is a 2D side-scrolling version of Pokemon. And, the Pokemon as characters are but I got addicted to it because it provided enough of a difference that Pokemon hasn't given. But because I like that style of gameplay so much, I played it for 3 hours straight and enjoyed myself. Even though I can definitely see that it's not a top tier product, but because it scratches that itch, I enjoy it. Same thing with Digimon, the Cyber Sleuth games. They're okay games, but because I'm into that type of game and I'm starved for a different type of that game, I'm willing to sit through and play that too. I mean, that's another example. But I want to push back a little on your answer because for me, I just stopped getting every Pokemon game. I stopped playing every one of them. Of course, I started with Red and Blue, and I love those, and I think they're the best out of any of them. I did Gold, and then I stopped from there until I believe the 3DS. I stopped until then, and then played X and Y, which I didn't like. And then I played Sun and Moon, which I thought was fantastic. I loved Sun and Moon. I think it's the second best out of all the Pokemon. And then the last one, which was Sword and Shield, I was severely disappointed by that. Like I just was not happy with that game whatsoever. But I also liked Let's Go. I thought Let's Go was charming in its own way, and it was different enough where I got into it. But should they really be divorced from the problem? I'm not so sure about that. I honestly like it will never happen because they sell gangbusters. But I honestly think that maybe they should just do more spin-offs and then maybe space out the mainline ones a little bit more. Like instead of maybe every the last one was Sword and Shield was what 2-3 years ago. Maybe do it every 5 years, maybe every 6 years, and do that, and then just sprinkle in spin-offs like Arceus and Pokken and stuff like that, and the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games. I would do that, and then maybe they'll get enough of an idea flow where they'll find something different to do in those. I forgot about the remake they just had in between the two Pokemon games. What was it? Shining Pearl and Diamond? Was that?
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that one. Yeah, like I think they need to space them out a lot more. I think that's the main issue I see with the Pokemon franchise. I don't necessarily want to take Game Freak away from it, but maybe you're right. Maybe it needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I should clarify when I say that they should be divorced of development, that it would still be fine for Game Freak to be on for a consultational role. So for like monster design and maybe just moveset consultation, especially if they're adding new Pokemon to a new generation, then yeah, I mean, and I personally would have no issue with just them being on for like design consultation, but I think tuning up the underlying systems and the design of the games in general should be something that either they should look into or just get another studio in to help them out on.
I think, and this is going to be controversial for a bunch of Pokemon fans, I think they should essentially, how do I put this? Do you know how the big thing where you can have your Pokemon from Gen 1 still be in Gen 9 from the daisy chain of types of like connections you would have? Like you can keep you can have the ones from when you first started. I think they should end that. I think that would free up a lot of creativity for them to basically be able to do more things with the Pokemon franchise. Because I think once they say, "Hey, we're done with that. We're going to do something completely different now," so you won't need to do that. They stay there, but we're gonna the Pokemon will come back, but we're gonna do something completely different that you won't need to have your old Pokemon back. I think if they do that, and they can start something fresh, because I think that's what's hamstringing them. Because there are people who have been playing Pokemon since Red and Blue, who want to have their old Pokemon from that time and want them to be in the newest one and be like, oh, yeah, my old Squirtle or Blastoise, I guess. I was a Bulbasaur fan, so I don't care. They want their old Blastoise back. And this is my Gen 1 Blastoise, and I want it in the new Scarlet Violet. And because it has this moveset and these EVs and IVs, then I want to have this one, and I want this in perpetuity. I think it's time to stop that. I think it's time to just say that part of Game Freak and Pokemon's over. We're doing something new, and you won't need to do that. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think that might be the direction they need to do. And I know a lot of Pokemon fans would be like, "Good God, no, that would be terrible." Guys, I think it's time. I think in order to innovate, you're going to have to get rid of certain things. And if they innovated enough, I don't think you'll care. So, right
now it's a bit of a problem if you want to transfer stuff and you didn't get on the transfer train really, really early on, because just to transfer to Gen 1 to Gen 2, that's doable through Game Boy consoles.
Right.
And then Gen 2 to Gen 3, it's some weird stuff involving a Game Boy and a Game Boy Advance.
Okay.
And then it just gets real complicated from there.
Right.
And worse off is if you were one to have transferred all of your vintage Pokemon into your Switch Nintendo Pokemon Bank account from one of your old cartridges, and then you decided to transfer some of this Pokemon to use in say Sword and Shield, for example. There's also the issue that for some reason Game Freak did not enable the ability to back up your Pokemon saves to the Nintendo Switch Online Cloud service, and that gets into an interesting predicament because some people did have to have their Switch consoles sent in for repairs, and because the game save file is literally trapped on the system, if you had any of your vintage Pokemon that you've kept with you forever and you transferred it in to Sword and Shield and you didn't transfer them out back to your Pokemon Bank account, then bye vintage Pokemon, because if the service center had to reset your console, there's no way to recover that.
That's not true. I mean, Pokemon Home is on iPad, so it would.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. If you transferred it before you sent your console for service,
okay,
you can still get it back. But let's say you were in the middle of playing Sword and Shield, and then something happened to your Switch console that you're like, oh well, shit. Now I got to send it out for service.
Oh, okay.
Then just boom, bye. Just Pokemon gone. So it's just sort of one of those things that, being able to transfer your stuff all the way from like Gen 1 is a nice and cute thing, but just they've got to really, really just get with the times as far as just letting people back up their save data.
Yeah.
And their anti-cheating excuse is just flimsy at best, because I know that was why they made a big stink about it with Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamond,
Yeah.
where they still wouldn't enable the ability to back up cloud saves because they were like, oh, well, we're afraid people will dupe Pokemon and we just can't have that. And it's just like, well, with just how the games are coded anyways, people are already duping Pokemon. That or the real hardcore dupers will not, they won't even dupe Pokemon. They'll generate them by tools like PK Hex and literally just generate a hacked Pokemon that'll pass the legitimacy checks.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. It's like there's really no point in just not letting users back up their stuff, and hell, after every online transaction or whatnot, force it to back up to the Nintendo Switch Online cloud. If the player has Nintendo Switch Online, there's literally ways to get around the whole duping concern if they are that worked up about it.
Right. Well, I mean, Pokemon does need to change. I mean, I'm excited for Temtem right now, which is, I think it came out today, and spoiler alert, that'll probably be the game that will be on video next week, unless I completely hate Temtem, which I don't think is going to happen. But anyway, look, I'm excited for that, but even I'm like looking at Temtem, like this doesn't look that very good. But if it does enough different stuff, I might play it because I'm into those monster collecting games, and Pokemon's just not doing it for me anymore. So bring back Jade Cocoon, god damn it! I would say, yeah, right, Zero, Jade Cocoon.
Well, that game is also a collector's item too, so yeah. I would love for the collector's market to be completely disrupted.
Yeah, my game. I'll just do something recent. I think Saints Row needs to be taken away from Volition. Volition has now had 3 duds. Get Out of Hell, Agents of Mayhem, and now the new Saints Row. I don't know what happened. I think they had new direction, I believe. But from everything I've seen, from glitches to bugs to reviews and everything, like the new Saints Row is just something that no one wanted. Like, there was already talk before it came out, how people were not really that, like, old fans of Saints Row were not impressed by what they were doing. But they were holding off that maybe the gameplay is good. And when the gameplay turned out not so great, that's now 3 in a row now that basically Volition has now had to deal with when it comes to Saints, when it comes to their games. Embracer Group now owns Volition, which now owns the property to Saints Row. If I were Embracer, I would give them an ultimatum. Either the next game better be killer, it better be great, or we're sucking up your studio and we're splitting you up. Hate to be that harsh, but at that point, I don't see Saints Row selling very well. And from the looks of it, it didn't look like that it was that technically impressive. So I don't know how much it cost them to make. But they're taking their goodwill that they had from Saints Row 3 and 4, and they just shat all over it at this point. I was a fan of all 4 of the Saints Rows that came out, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I was a huge fan of 3. 3 was amazing. I loved 3. But for them to go, like, I understand that you had to I guess, reboot Saints Row, but you rebooted it into something so drastically different that it was unrecognizable to what fans were wanting. So that was a bad move, but I understand they had to refresh and do different characters, but I think a lot of people really liked the self-referential style of the game and really connected with it and married it with really tight shooting and good gameplay, and you just had a massive hit, a really good game. For them to then turn it into what it is now, and for what I've seen, it just sounds like they had a creative drain. And I think it might be time to just say goodbye to Saints Row for Volition. Maybe start something completely fresh. Like maybe like I'll give them this. Maybe put Saints Row on ice before you decide to divorce that property from that company. But I think Volition needs to step away from that property big time, especially with how it turned out now.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a shame because the idea of a reboot, it's not a bad one. I mean, I know that the premise for the Saints Row reboot is sort of a retelling of how the Saints are formed again.
Right.
And it's a new direction, so I mean the potential's there, but yeah, it's just one of those things that's just like, my God, you have really squandered one hell of an opportunity just to really, really make something of this.
Right. And when you reboot something, you don't reboot it and then reboot it to like, oh, all right, let's put it back to where it was at 1. No. You take all of the things that you learned from those 4 games, and when you reboot it, you take all that stuff, put it into the new reboot, and then either redo the series, or just do it that way. Like, take everything you learned that was successful, the self-referential humor, the style, the arcade-like gameplay, the ridiculousness of everything in the game, the setting. Like, take all that stuff, put it in the reboot, and do a fresh story. That's all you need to do. And they couldn't even do that. I'm just floored by the decisions they made in this game. And it just seems like let me be a little fair to them. What it sounds like is that they had an idea for a game, but someone said, yeah, but no one's going to do it unless we make a Saints Row game. So they took that idea, they kind of crowbarred in that idea to a Saints Row game, and instead of massaging it into a Saints Row style game, they just stapled it in and made it all Frankenstein-like. Like, the idea of having 4 kids trying to do crime in order to pay their rent sounds like a ridiculous idea that could actually work, and if done correctly, could be kind of charming. But to then marry it into let's make it into a Saints Row game didn't really sound very good. Like, to me at least. To me it just sounded like they had a charming idea where they could have made it a parody of GTA as they did with the Saints Row 3 and 4 games as well, in that style where it's maybe more personable, and you're dealing with these 4 kids who have to like I said, do crime in order to pay the rent, and you can make that into a neat gameplay mechanic and have your own your own self-referential humor, and do a take on gig economy and stuff like that. But they then stapled it onto Saints Row, which just didn't fit, is what it sounds like to me, at least. I don't know, I haven't played it. I'm not even going to attempt to play it, because everything I've heard about it is it's bad, so I'm not spending $70 on it. So, there. I think it's time for them to just either put it on ice, or let somebody else do the property.